Okay, here's the problem I was trying to solve. I had to replace the nut that was on this Boley Leinen reformed lathe. Very beautiful lathe. And I wasn't sure how many threads per inch, etc. So I took a gauge, I gauged it, and it was 20 threads per inch. It was SAE. So I found myself an SAE 20 threads per inch nut that was not pyramided. It was more like an Acme nut, but it fit perfectly on here, on the end here. So first thing I did was I took this nut and I cut it in half because I didn't want it this wide. Then I took the resulting half. I actually had it in this vise, and I cut through the top and I rotate it and cut it again and rotate it and cut it again, and I cut it into two pieces. I left posts, I left 3 posts in here as I was cutting so that the nut wouldn't compress and catch the blade on the Dremel tool. So I used a Dremel tool to do that. Once I had the thing in 2 pieces, I used a 1200 grit sandpaper and stuff here, and I filed it first flat, and then I used sandpaper and I smoothed it so it was a perfect half nut, absolutely perfect. Then I took the resulting half nut here and I cut an opening in it here so this could be compressed slightly. So I cut it again put it in here, used my Dremel tool, cut it, sanded it, smoothed it. Then I took my butane torch. I turned the nut upside down in here with the crack on the bottom. I used this butane torch I have, which is quite the nice butane torch, like that. I heated up the top of the nut like that. Then as this was heating, I took my vise and I slowly compressed that nut until I saw that gap on the bottom of the nut compress ever so slightly. And it's sort of going like this because I wanted to take about a 1/10 off the diameter of that nut. So I did that, compressed it, did a great job, went back here, fitted it, realized it was a bit too compressed, took a screwdriver blade, put it on top of this vise here, pounded the blade in just to move it out a bit. Once I had it out the right size, I went back, I fitted it again. It was absolutely perfect fit. I put it on, and you had to use a little screwdriver or a little piece of metal to open it as you put it on. And then once I had it on perfectly, I back it off a little bit, and this is on super tight. So that is how I made the nut for this particular Boley Leinen reform lathe. This is like a 100-year-old lathe, maybe older than that. And I've got it running with a Fordham pedal, so I've the sewing machine motor in the back, which runs really well. This is a leather strap that I made with a 5-pound test fishing line to sew it together. And leather is really good because you can't hear it. And it goes on the Boley lathe, which swings as well. And that's how I made the nut. So it's working really well. It's tight enough to keep no end shake or no movement of the spindle, because it's this spindle is absolutely tight in here. It's a cone bearing in here, so it has to be tight. And I use 0W20 oil that I put on the top here. And so you have to tighten it up completely so it doesn't move, and then back it off just a bit so you have movement in the lathe. So anyway, that's how I made the nut. It's not that difficult. And the steel that these nuts are made of give you the springiness that you need so that it retains the tension on here. So, and the other lathes I have this kind of lock nut. This came without this log nut. It came out with another nut that was absolutely useless. So anyway, it's fixed. That's how I did it. Hope you enjoyed this little video.